Welcome to Bator International's Classic Online Motorcycle Sales. Today we're going to jump on Chapter 7 of the teardown and restoration of the 1957 Harley Davidson XL Sportster. As you can see, we have the engine on the dolly. We're going to go ahead and pull the top end off this. The cylinders are the wrong year casting, so we're going to go ahead and pull that off. Plus we're going to remove all of the items that need to be replated. We have items that need to be CAD plated, Parkerized, and so on. And so we're going to go ahead and get that all taken care of. And also, like the rocker boxes, they're the wrong finish. This should be polished on the face, and part of this up here should be sandblasted with just a small portion of the rocker boxes polished. So again, that's part of the things that have to be done correctly to make the bike a 100-pointer. Recently, we've pulled a lot of the parts off, and I'll come on over here and excuse the mess in the shop. But for the last, day, I've been working on getting things cleaned, sandblasted. This is all going to CAD plate. A lot of these items here go Parkerized and some paint. So we've been burning up the sandblaster quite a bit here lately. So we're going to go ahead and move on to getting the engine torn down and more items ready for the plate and paint. Now that we have the engine up on the stand, we're going to go ahead and pull the top end off for a couple of reasons. The cylinders are actually the wrong date codes. If you can see down here, it says 12-8, so this is a 58 or early 59 cylinder, and again, late 58, early 59 set of cylinders. So I need to get the proper date code for the cylinders, so I will pull the top end off. And while I have it off, the finish on the rocker boxes are incorrect, even though the numbers are here, and this is very important if you're going to go ahead and restore a 57 XL, to make sure that the casting numbers are on, because later on in the what can I say, years of building the XLs, XLCHs, these got knocked off, polished off, or a lot of times through the years when guys go to rebuild these engines, they polish their rocker boxes, which don't do these rocker boxes any good for restoration purposes. I'm going to try not to pull the low end off, even though I'm going to have to remove the rear motor mount, because this is the improper finish. This should be Parkerized, and this is the actual bottom of the battery box. The shaft is okay in raw steel, so I may just leave it. The oiler for the rear chain, this should be CAD plated with the nut here Parkerized. This is an incorrect fitting, should be on a 45 and not a 90, so this is going to have to go away. And before I pull the rocker boxes and the heads off, I'll go ahead and loosen up the valves. I just got done popping these two caps, so we'll get those done. And also remove the distributor, again for finishing purposes. The bolts down here for your lifter blocks, they should be CAD plated, as well as the bolts for the top rocker boxes. The cases are very clean. When I went to buy the bike, that was one of the things that I double checked to make sure that the cases were in matching numbers, which they are. And again, no cracks, no welds, and it's a good virgin set of cases. Very nice. So credit to the guy that rebuilt this engine, whoever he was. The script is actually fairly nice because, again, it's not supposed to be a high polish on the Sportster script. So again, once I pull this cover off, we'll clean that up to make it look a little bit better. But little things like this, incorrect hardware, it's got to go away. And so we'll go ahead and start tearing this girl down and getting her back up. So again, I hope I do not have to rebuild the low end. Okay, to this point we went ahead and pulled out the distributor, broke it completely down, and we will pull the pin out of the bottom gear so I can separate it and send the base to CAD plate. But we went ahead and got our CAD plate box started, and this is all the items that are coming off of the engine that we will clean up and put in the CAD plate pile. And here's some of the other items that are not going to cat plate. So we went ahead and pulled the rocker box bolts after I went ahead and relieved the valves, which is basically a 1/2 inch and a 7/16, and you take away the tension on that. So I did those, and I also dropped the nuts off of the oil lines going up to the top. And one of the things I do need to suggest or remind people that once you pull your distributor out, put a rubber plug or something in this hole, because if you're working, all of a sudden something drops in there and you were not intending on pulling that cover off, guess what? You're going to pull the cover off. So go ahead and get that plugged up before you go ahead and start dropping little things in there. So I got all the bolts removed from here, so it's just going to be an easy pick up and remove. And as you can see, this engine is very clean, which I knew it was going to be because it was just rebuilt. But anyhow, so we're not going to have to do anything with the heads. That's going to save me a lot of time getting this girl ready for the auction. So let me pop this top one off here. And again, very nice. But the fit and finish is not right, so we're going to get that dialed in. So next we're going to go ahead and pull the 4 bolts to remove the heads on both the front and rear cylinders. We'll go ahead and remove the push rods, which are very simple to do. 1, 2, 3, 4. And not so much of a worry when you're removing them from an engine that's just been rebuilt or one that you're going to be totally disassembling, because again, it makes no difference. And so we just get those girls out of the way. So next, like I mentioned, we'll go ahead and pop the heads, and then after that we'll go ahead and remove the cylinders and some of the other small peripherals as we go. So let's go ahead and see where we land on the next step. When you go to remove the 4 bolts on your head, make sure that you loosen them on a cross pattern. Break this one loose, then this one, and this one. And when you go to use your socket, make sure you use a 6-point socket. Do not use a 12-point, because it'll beat the heck out of your head bolts, especially if you're going to reuse them. And do not use an impact driver. Use a breaker bar and get as low as you can on this. Do not use an extension. I'm just using an extension to unscrew them now. But again, once you do, loosen all 4 of them on the cross pattern, just unscrew them, and the head will pop right off. This is going to be an easy fix for me, because again, this is a engine that has been completely rebuilt. And I'm just double checking all the work that was done. And I can see by the splash up here, I don't know if you see that brown mark, the skid mark. Basically what that is the chain wax or grease that they put on the chain from the factory. So basically that shows that the bike has been ran, because again that slung off of the chain and got into that area there. So that's good to know, because knowing that the engine's been ran in is much better than getting an engine that has not had any miles on it, because there are definitely going to be some bugs that you're going to have to work out. But once we get the heads off, we'll take a look at the piston here. Just give me a quick second. I'll get these 2 loose, and I'll just pop the rear off. 1, 2, and again, being that these are nicely CAD plated, I'll still go ahead and send them out, sandblast them, and then buff them off, and then go ahead and have them replated, because putting your tools on it like this does leave a register on the head, and you want to try to make that as minimal as possible. So let's go ahead and slide this off and see what happens. Okay, again, one hand is a little bit difficult, but okay. Looking at the combustion chamber, even has original Harley valves, and it's a little dirty in there, but not bad. Looks like it was running a little rich, but very typical. Looks like it has been bored 30 over, but being that I'm going to remove these cylinders, it makes no difference, because I'm going to get another set of cylinders and put it on there. You can see it still has the cross hatching, So this engine had very little time on it, but again, it has been ran in, and that is a good thing. So next step is we'll go ahead and get the front cylinder off, and then remove or front cylinder head, I should say, off, and then we'll go ahead and remove the cylinders. And then we'll look around the engine and go ahead and pull off some of the other hardware that needs to come off and go to the CAD platers. So again, and then we'll go ahead and get this rear motor mount off. So let's see how far we get today on this segment. Now that we have the heads off, we went ahead and removed the nuts for the cylinder bases, and I just gave them a little smack to loosen them up. So we're going to go ahead and lift these up and go ahead and remove the cylinders and see what shape our pistons are in. And like I mentioned, I'm sure they're in very good shape. But being that this is a two-hand job, excuse me, I'm just going to set this aside, and we'll go ahead and get the cylinders removed. Yep. Bear with me. That's one cylinder. Okay, one cylinder is enough. And here you go. Got a brand new piston. Rings are looking terrific. It's too bad. It's a real shame that I can't use this top end because it's in really nice shape. And let's look down at the flywheels. And they are looking really good. So let's just go ahead and drop this front cylinder as we're here. So again, bear with me, just setting the phone down. Okay. As expected, very nice shape. And now we can take a good look at our rods. Look like brand new rods. So I will definitely not be taking this low end apart. I'll be, like I mentioned, stripping all the peripherals off. I'll clean the cases up, and it's going to save me many, many hours. Very confident about this engine. Removing the rear motor mount is a bit of a chore because I'll have to pull these studs out, because normally when you go to put the engine together, you put the motor mount in first. You have your left case, slide the rear motor mount in, and then go ahead and put the right case on. But we'll see. We'll get that off, because as you can see, it has a little bit of a clearance issue here. So that's probably one of the next things I will do. I just pulled the outer primary cover off, the 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3. And the oil is actually in very good shape. I don't see any metal or anything along that lines in the oil itself. No shavings, but again, this engine has very little miles on it. You can see it's very nicely done. So to, like I mentioned, get the rear motor mount off, I've got to pull the clutch off, the compensator off, and then unbolt the actual kicker shaft, and then pull it out, and then go ahead and get the rear motor mount out. You know, it's a lot of work just to get this off and then sandblast it, because somebody did not put the right finish on it. So I've got to pull it off, sandblast it, and parkerize it, and then basically put everything back together. But being that the engine is so nice, it's not that big a chore. Okay, the next move will be to remove the compensator, also the clutch. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and unbolt the actual primary chain tensioner, get this out of the way, and then we'll go ahead and take the internals of the clutch part. This little tool here, very simple. You can make one on your own, but if you can also buy them. Basically fits in between the 2 sprockets, or the 2 gears, which keeps everything from moving around, to where you can go ahead and bust this nut loose here, as well as the nut on the back of the clutch basket. This is a real fancy Jim's tool for removing the compensator. I just got that, so don't use an impact on these, because you will actually fracture these pins. So make sure you use a breaker bar with using that tool. So we'll go ahead and get this off as well as this, and we'll go ahead and pick it up after I have some of the items removed. Okay, I removed the outer portion of the chain tensioner, and this inner portion basically stays there. That part, you can't remove it, but make sure you put that in place when you go to reinstall the this whole assembly. Make sure you put the back portion of your tensioner in first, or you're going to be removing everything and cussing yourself out for being so stupid. So the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the tensioner nuts on the actual springs on the clutch. Every other one of these heads is a 1/2 inch. So there's 3 1/2 inch heads and a 3 7/16 head. But the 1/2 inch heads, for some reason, never fit your socket. So you either have to use an open end wrench or sometimes a 12-point socket, or you may even go with a metric. But even with the 12-point, it doesn't like to fit. So I don't know why they make them that way, but that's just the way it is. So we're going to go ahead and get these removed now, and then move on to pulling the internals of this apart. And I usually take apart the inside of the clutch basket first before I remove the compensator. That way it's you get all this small stuff out of the way, and it's just easier that way. So we'll get this removed now, and then move on to getting the compensator and the clutch basket broke off. We have the internals of the clutch completely removed, and you'll see that there's a big nut with this what I'll call lock washer behind it. Now I did use my impact to remove that, and you see I have a socket here that ground flat on the end, so it gets a real good bite on that nut, and it just unscrews it. But again, with 2 hands it's much easier, and you just hold the external or the internal portion of the clutch here by hand, use your ratchet, and it pops it right off. And it's a lefty-loosey nut, so no worries there. So I've gone ahead and I've put the little brace in between the 2 sprockets, as you see here, and I have a bit of a compensator, because it's going to take a little bit of effort to get this off, because when you go to loosen this, you're actually going to see the cam lobe rise here and compress this spring before it's actually going to bust that nut loose. So I'm going to go ahead and set this down, and I don't know if I can give you a good enough angle to see what's going on here, but we'll give it a shot. There she goes. Okay, one compensator is off, as you can see. Came off nicely, and now we're going to go ahead and remove the internal brake, or the clutch drum, and get that removed, and then we'll go ahead and pull the entire clutch basket off with the compensator at the same time. So next I'll get my puller, pop this unit here off, and then both pieces will slide off without issue. Okay. I was just getting ready to set up my puller to go ahead and remove that internal basket, or the inside of the clutch basket, and I noticed it was loose, so voila, did not have to use the puller, which means I did not damage the seal for the push rod on the clutch. So now both of these items are ready to come off in my hands. So again, let me see if I can get this set up to where you can watch. Okay, stand by. Voila. If I had a cameraman here, this would be a different story, but since I don't and I'm doing this on my own, this is as best as you get. So here you go. Okay, so you see the internal portion of the chain tensioner. Again, when you go to reinstall, you make sure you put that in place before you reinstall that unit right there. Okay, so this is the kicker gear with the return spring, and then this here shaft is for the kick arm, and that's what and when you kick it, this engages the gear into the back of the clutch pack. So we'll go ahead and get that loose there. I'll bust this little washer off here, pop this nut off, get the shaft off, and then let's see what it's going to take to get that the rear motor mount off. Okay, stand by. All right, just a couple more steps until we're done for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and remove this stud and this stud here to be able to swing this rear motor mount down and pull it away from the motor. And then basically that's what we're trying to achieve, get that sandblasted, parkerized, and then basically put it right back on. So let me go ahead and get this taken care of here. Okay, so this is the last stud coming out here. And let's see if we can swing this away. And there you have it, one rear motor mount removed. And just think of all the work that it took just to get that off so I can sandblast it and parkerize it and put it back on. So there you have it. This has been quite a segment here, a lot of work. I think we did really well. The engine's in great shape. I'm very happy to see that. And all in all, as you can see by the workbench, a lot of things got removed today. So this is as far as we're going. So the next chapter will be what? Probably reinstalling some of the parts, maybe cleaning up some tires and wheels, as you can see over there, or repairing the front fender. Not exactly sure where we're going next, but at least we got this portion of it done. Very happy. It turned out terrific, and I'm really, really happy with this motor. Again, this is Glenn Bator. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, 805-798-1802, or you can email me at batorintel, BATORINTL, @AOL.com. And thanks for watching.